most people, I think, are aware that they are, to some extent, or some fraction of the CIA are above and beyond the control of Congress or government. That very often the president, if you want to call him that, takes his orders from the CIA on certain manners, and the president doesn't necessarily know, and Congress doesn't, and the Senate doesn't know about everything the CIA knows about. So there's a general understanding that there is a kind of unaccountable group within the US that operates above and beyond the foresight of government when they want to, and have done repeatedly in the past. I don't think that's a conspiracy theory. And then there's, as I just mentioned, the idea of Project MKUltra, which was a covert research operation experimenting in the behavioral engineering of humans. You can look it up on Wikipedia if you like, MKUltra. So it seems that this is not science fiction here. We've got two things here. We've got the evidence for a group above and beyond the power of the overt government, above and beyond Congress, Senate, and the executive branches, that does as they please, and that they all are also and have been officially involved in experimenting in the behavioral engineering of humans, i.e. mind control. It's basically mind control. Through hypnosis, the application of the use of drugs to affect awareness and consciousness. Obviously, again, the idea of a covert group or a secret element within the CIA, or a black ops element within the CIA, is evidenced by, for example, the JFK assassination. I think in recent polls,
it speaks for itself. Yeah, there was a very recent poll in which it was described that 75% of Americans do not believe the lone gunman explanation for what happened.
That Oswald was the lone gunman.
By definition,
there's an admission.
There is a conspiracy
by these 75% of Americans that, there's a power above and beyond. Well, that can take out a president. That must be in the back of people's minds. If 75% of people, and I firmly believe, because the evidence on the JFK assassination is so clear in terms of that it wasn't Oswald and that it was the CIA and the military-industrial complex, if you want to call it that, because that evidence is so clear, I fully believe that 75% of Americans would understand that and accept that Oswald, that is a bullshit story. At the time, I think nobody in America believed the Warren Commission. So this is just, we're just making a point here that this group exists, this power within the US exists to carry out these kind of complicated and complex operations that are above and beyond, and in the case of JFK, were targeted at the president. The president was the target of the assassination by a group that clearly, therefore, is above and beyond the office of the president. There's no reason to believe that group doesn't exist today. There's plenty of reason to believe that they do exist today. You add in Project MKUltra and their intense interest in research and experimentation into behavioral engineering of humans, including hypnosis and drugs, etc. And then you put that into context of these disturbed individuals who go along carrying out mass shootings that are anomalous in terms of the other shootings. And I think we have just cause to be suspicious in this broader context. And I'd just like to let you listen to a little bit of corroborating evidence. This is from this is a piece of audio from an interview with the lawyer of Sirhan Sirhan, who is still in prison on a life sentence for the murder of Robert Kennedy. The lawyer's name is Lawrence Teeter, and this interview is from 2003, and it's just a short segment. It's a few minutes, but we're going to play it here just to illustrate the point that we've been trying to make. This guy has done a lot of research and obviously knows a lot about Sirhan Sirhan's case, and all of what he says is has been corroborated by documentary evidence, actually in the form of a documentary called RFK Must Die, that you can search on the web for. It's a very interesting documentary, and it relies on historical evidence and reliable evidence for the premise or the theory that it puts forward. So we'll just let you.
Let's listen to what Lawrence Peter has to say.
I am the only attorney Sirhan has ever had who's clearly and forthrightly proclaimed Sirhan's innocence, not only of the shooting, but of any culpability in the act of the assassination. Because I presented evidence in a historic declaration that Dr. Herbert Spiegel and I worked on together, which establishes that Sirhan was programmed through hypnosis, and as a result of this hypnotic programming, was unconscious due to programming and lacked any knowledge or memory of the events involving the assassination and was unable to recall the experience of being programmed. First of all, right after the assassination, Sirhan spoke to a prosecutor, and he engages in a very articulate colloquy about somebody else's case. Not his own, somebody else's. And the prosecutor, sensing that something is wrong with this scenario, asks Sirhan questions designed to determine whether he knows where he is. And it quickly becomes apparent that Sirhan has no idea that he hasn't even been taken before a judge to be arraigned. He's not oriented. He has no contact with reality. He doesn't know what's happening. This is right after he's taken into custody. That's right there pretty powerful evidence that he's operating in an altered state of mind. In his cell, Sirhan is met with experiments performed by defense psychiatrist Bernard Diamond. Bernard Diamond holds up a quarter in front of Sirhan's face, and Sirhan goes right into the hypnotic trance, indicating to the doctor, according to testimony presented in trial, that Sirhan was an experienced hypnotic subject and had undergone hypnosis before the assassination. Well, right there's a basis for laying a foundation for the argument that Sirhan doesn't deserve the death penalty. And there certainly is a basis for exploring the possibility that he was programmed. And then there's more that materializes along these lines. Dr. Diamond tells Sirhan in trance, Sirhan, when I wake you up, I'm going to touch my forehead, and you're going to climb the bars of your cell like a monkey. So he wakes him up, touches his forehead, up the bars of the cell goes Sirhan, and looks down at the doctor with monkey-like expressions. The doctor says, Sirhan, who told you to do that? No one. I'm doing it on my own. A perfect example of Sirhan's high level of hypnotizability and programmability. He's being programmed to do something he wouldn't ordinarily do, with no memory of being programmed, but no knowledge that he's acting in response to instructions from a programmer. It's a perfect example of how this assassination was arranged, and there are others. I think that it's reasonable to look at this assassination as a sequel, a follow-up to the JFK assassination. What did the planners of this assassination learn from Dallas? Well, they learned we don't want another Dallas. And that's true in a number of respects. First of all, Dallas was a public relations disaster for the planners of that killing. Maybe it was the same group or the same body of institution. So Dallas was not something that the LA crowd wanted to repeat. The ideal way around the Dallas disaster was to have somebody walk into a room full of people and fire away. He's seen in the act, it's open and shut, nobody questions it, it doesn't look suspicious at all, and it certainly doesn't reek of conspiracy. The problem is, how do you get somebody to do that? They're committing legal suicide. They're subjecting themselves to the possibility of a death penalty trial. How do you solve that problem? Well, hypnosis furnishes a perfect way of solving that problem. Because if you have a hypno-programmed fall guy, you have somebody who's unconscious, who doesn't know what he's doing at the time, and therefore can't describe anything. He can't identify what he did. He can't identify anybody. He can't defend himself. He's helpless. All he can do is babble, I don't remember and I don't know, and come across as a blooming liar. Now, there's also another danger the planners of this assassination had to deal with. The other danger is that you can't leave the act of killing Robert Kennedy in the hands of somebody who's in a hypnotic trance. It just doesn't make any sense. So they've got to have somebody else to do the deed while their hypno-programmed fall guy takes the rap. That means multiple guns are going to be in use.
Multiple guns are going to be in use.
Wow. That makes a lot of sense.
And again, this is the point here, is putting Sandy Hook and other such shootings in context, in a historical context. The historical context is that it has happened before, that the CIA, we're just calling them the CIA, obviously we're talking about a non-public face.
Probably something you can't put a name to.
Of the control system, a deep black, murky area of the intel agencies who are operating according to their own agenda and have a lot of control. I mean, I suppose it's a hierarchy, and the further you go up the hierarchy, the more control you can exert below you. That would put them above the government, the overt government. Therefore, they have quite a lot of control over everything below them, and that's pretty much everything. So, yes, in context, this kind of group, looking at Sandy Hook in context, this group exists, has existed. There's evidence for it in the JFK assassination, in the MLK, Martin Luther King. There was a trial by jury in, I can't remember the state in the US, that concluded that Martin Luther King was killed as part of a conspiracy involving the CIA. You can look that up as well. Even though the official record still cites a lone gunman in the Martin Luther King. I mean, this lone gunman business it's just got to, I mean, they're overusing it, you know. I mean, they're using it, I suppose, with good reason from their perspective, but
the irony is, the origin of the term lone gunman is the JFK assassination. When that was first being used, lone gunman was a pejorative term for the official story because it's like the magic bullet. Remember that one?
People used it dismissively.
Lone gunman.
Oh yeah,
now,
lone gunman.
Now lone gunman is
the answer.
About
well,
like
it's the answer for everything.
It's the answer for everything. And
so, yeah, so MLK, RFK, JFK, even John Lennon, lone gunman, but all of these events, at least RFK and JFK, and even, as I said, John Lennon, there's evidence for some kind of hypnotism or mind programming a la MK Ultra being involved here, and it's a reality. It's what they can do. So if this is a reality, and I mean nobody gets a smoking gun, but based on the available evidence, any rational person would accept that this is a reality and this happens. So given that we do that research, we bring that to the table, and then we look at Sandy Hook, not the other way around. Or we don't look at Sandy Hook in isolation and go off on crazy conspiracy theories. We look at it in historical context and bringing in the reality and the facts about mind programming, the ability to hypnotize someone, to go to a certain area, shoot some guns as cover, and to take the fall. And I don't know what more there is to say from our perspective other than the big question,
which is why.
Why are they doing this? What did they achieve